Dean Evason now joins us on the show. What's going on, Dean? How are you?
Hi, Nick. How are you, bud?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for doing this. We were just talking about the matinee affair. How do you deal with that as a head coach in the league?
I don't think you deal with it any other way. It's just another game. You're just preparing the same way. End of the day, what you eat the day of the game or rest or whatever, when the puck drops, you play the same.
That's true. Dean, I wanted to pick your brain. You've been in the game a long time, and I mean, longer than I ever was, and even I saw so much change in the style of player that came up into the league. And what did you notice the most from, maybe the old school mentality of hockey player to the new age and this new generation of talent that's in the NHL, and how you have to deal with them personality wise, and what the differences are in coaching those different types of people?
Well, it's a good point. There's a lot of psychology involved in coaching now. I mean, back in the day, it was X's and O's and open the gate and let them go. And, you play hard, then the coach, played you basically. There wasn't a lot of systematic stuff. There's a lot of personalities now. There's a lot of outside influences in the game in each individual. And I think that's why you see so many coaches now on the bench and behind the scenes, is that you have to deal with a lot of personalities, and there's a lot of massaging now, and with the agents and the personalities. So it's different for sure. But end of the day, once as we just talked, once the puck is dropped, the game's very similar. It hasn't changed a whole lot. You play the right way. You play hard. You play physical, you do the right things, you be a really good teammate, and, hopefully you have success.
So, Dean, I won't lie, you're one of my personal favorites in the league. I think accountability is such a big word. We often talk about it in this market. We just talked about younger players. How do you instill accountability in your team? Because I think that's one of the great things you did with Minnesota when guys didn't do what you wanted or stuff like that, you held them accountable. I think that's big in this day and age.
I agree, this day and age, but basically in any day and age, right? And I learned long time ago. Bob Gainey was my coach for a couple of years in Dallas, and everybody knows who Bob Gainey is, and he was just straight up and honest. And as an ex-player and now as a coach, and the players want to be told the truth. They want it up front. They want it, face to face. And if you do that, you get the accountability, you get the respect of your group. If you do it behind their backs, if you do it in the media, if you do it in different ways, then they won't respect you. And, you definitely have to make some guys accountable. But honestly, if you bring a guy in and you tell him, listen, your back checking, sucks. You show them 5 clips. Listen, you got to work harder getting back, right? Then, and you say, I'm not going to bring it to the team. But if they don't do it, now you bring it to the team. You do it in front of the group, and you say, I've shown you personally, you didn't do it, and now it's going to the group. It's hard to go. Obviously, a lot of coaches don't, and it's go to the media with it. But that likely is your last straw.
For sure. Dean, what do you see in this group with the Toronto Maple Leafs? They're no stranger to high-end, offensive talent with a lot of these players, but they've had trouble putting it together when it matters. They've had trouble, keeping it simple and being a little bit more defensive-minded. If you have a group of players like this that are as talented as they are, but just can't seem to put it together, what's your MO with trying to get the most out of a group like the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Wish the hell I had a group like the Toronto Maple Leafs that I could stand behind the bench with. I've watched a few games. Obviously, when Nick reached out to me, I've watched a few games, and the skill set is just incredible. They haven't got a few breaks here and there. I mean, obviously, I can't speak to everything. I'm not educated. I haven't watched them enough, and I've talked to different people. It's hard when you're coaching your own group. You don't get, until you pre-scout a team. But, just pre-scouting the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're incredibly talented. I don't think they get enough credit for their work ethic, led by Matthews. His work ethic is absolutely tremendous. It's probably been documented, obviously, to keep the puck out of the net, to play more defensively sound, a little bit more safe in different situations. But end of the day, you got to score goals to win hockey games. So, I think the learning curves that they've had through the years with their core group and stuff, I think they're set up in a good spot to move forward.
You talk about Auston Matthews. I said this earlier on the show. Like, I think you could make a legitimate case at this point that this guy could get 70 goals this year. First time since, 31 years. Mogilny and Solani did it back in 92, 93. What would that pre-scout look like, as you prep for a guy like Auston Matthews? Next to impossible, no?
You know what? And preparing for this, it's like, okay, what did we do? I was thinking back to our pre-scout, and you could show 35 goals of Auston Matthews and Nylander and Tavares, just scoring goals, right? It would scare the hell out of our group. What we showed with Auston Matthews was his ability and his willingness to check and to and different coaches call it different things, but tracking back, lifting sticks, stealing pucks. That's what he does, I think, better than any superstar in the National Hockey League. And if you guys remember, there was a back in my day, the Edmonton Oilers were the greatest team. There was a documentary called Boys on the Bus, and it was Edmonton Oilers. And they were, I don't know if it was at Gretzky's house, and I don't want to quote a lot, but it was at Gretzky's house. They were drinking a ton of wine. And Wayne Gretzky said it was Anderson and Messier, and I think Curry was there, and Lowe. He said, the difference with me, guys, is that there's one puck on the ice, and that's my puck. And I want that puck, and everybody else has to try to get. He had that puck. To me, Matthews wants the puck. And what we showed with our pre-scouts is his willingness to track, to do whatever it took to finish people, to bump people, to lift sticks, to work to get that puck. When he has the puck, obviously dynamic things happen, and he can make plays, he can score goals. He obviously is a great playmaker. So that's what we tried to show. Match his work ethic. We're not going to match his skill set, right? You just match that work ethic, and maybe we'll have a chance to have success.
And I think another guy in that conversation, obviously, is like a Nathan MacKinnon, what he brings to the table when it comes to the Colorado Avalanche. I was just going to follow up with that and ask you your thoughts on the Hart Trophy. You obviously saw MacKinnon quite a bit with Colorado. Nikita Kucherov's been great this year. Connor McDavid's been Connor McDavid. We've just been spitting around the last couple shows. Like, if Matthews gets to that barometer of 70 goals, like, has he not moved the goalpost from the first time he won the Hart Trophy a couple years ago when he scored 60?
Yeah, I believe that. And obviously I've been, watching a lot of stuff on TV and whatever through the internet, and, the discussions and the debates back and forth. The three guys that you mentioned are absolutely incredible. And what the three of them, what they all possess is size, skill, speed, but the willingness to work. I think all three of them. You get some superstars in the league, and that don't have the work ethic and just have the opportunity to score goals and what have you. I think all three of them do, but I think Auston Matthews, for me anyway, is definitely the front runner.
For sure. Dean, with the trade deadline coming up here, teams are obviously looking to add more often than not. How much of that comes into play for a coach? Is it pretty specific to the coach GM relationship, or do you prefer to be a guy to just stay out of it, let me know who's coming and I'll coach them, or do you like to be involved in that process a little bit?
I never did. I like to communicate. I think that obviously that's important. Your management, you have pro scouts that are out there scouting these guys constantly. You have your general manager and your assistant general managers. They're going to make the call. Communicate with us as a coaching staff. What do we need? Do we need a scoring left winger? Do we need a gritty defenseman? Do we need a checking? Do we need a face-off guy? Give that to them, and then that's it. I think you can get consumed as a coaching staff on, well, we need this guy, or how come we're not going to get that guy? He's available. I think you have to put that out of your head, out of your mind, and out of your coaching room, because it filters into your into your players' room if you're not happy as a coaching staff. So what I've tried to do in years past is give my input. If I'm asked, then obviously I'll communicate, but the communication has to be good. After that, whatever decisions are made, we live with them and we believe in them and we try to make it work. We try to fit them in as far as where they fit systematically and rotation wise in our lineup. And then you have to try to fit them in with their personalities with the group.
Of course, the other thing too, guys, is like chemistry, right? Like I always think like hitting the home run maybe is not the play of getting like a Tarasenko again this year, a Patrick Kane last year. If you think back, Dean, the last couple of years ago, our Terry Lehkonen, that pickup for Colorado was massive for that team. Ivan Barbashev last year with the Vegas Golden Knights. Like those are the type of guys that I think put a team over the top. But you don't see those sexy names on a roster. So you're like, oh, it doesn't work. But I think the Rangers were a perfect example last year. Not necessarily because you get the best player doesn't mean you're going to win the cup, right?
I agree with you, especially on Barbashev. I think that was such a key pickup for them. Like just a gritty guy that obviously can score goals, but he plays the game right and hard. And he's a piece that is a complementary piece. He's not the guy that's going to come in there and he's not, setting the second line left winger down to the third line or whatever. He just fit perfectly into their system. And I've talked about this a couple of times. Ray Bourque back in the day is the perfect example of a guy. He's a superstar that goes to win a cup and he wins a cup. That's amazing. But to me, Butch Goring, and a lot of kids and people don't know, he goes to the New York Islanders. He's not taking Brian Trotier's job, right? Mm-hmm. But he's going there to be a complementary piece, second, third line center, play the game hard, gritty, whatever. And he fit perfectly, allowed them to go on to winning multiple, obviously, Stanley Cups. I think that's the trade that makes the biggest and the most sense.
And Dean, lastly, I just want to ask you about the big topic of conversation in this market, the Morgan Rielly, Ridley Grigg situation, altercation last week. How do you think it was handled and everything that went into it?
Well, I definitely get what he did as an ex-player. I mean, we all do. Would you rather him do something different than cross-check him in the face? Yeah, but you have to make. Yeah, I think old school, new school, whatever you say. He thought that they got showed up. He took it upon himself to to stand with the team and for the team. I think it's a good thing the way he went about it. Maybe it was a little over the top, but I get why he did it.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.